And now, without further delay, let's get started with today's event, sponsored by IBM and hosted by Insurance Networking News. I would now like to turn things over to your moderator, Elliot Cass.
Thanks, Erin. Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webcast on improving claims management to streamline workflows and reduce costs. Once again, this event is brought to you by Insurance Networking News and sponsored by IBM. I'm Elliot Cass, and I'll be your moderator. As claim losses continue to rise, insurance companies face intense pressure to better manage their claims process and the content associated with each claim. But many claims management systems fail to streamline the complex workflows and the multitude of information types that lengthen cycle times and drive up expenses. During today's webinar, we're going to examine 5 common myths about managing claims content. Our insurance experts will describe how you can extend your current claims management system to process claims faster while improving settlement accuracy, reducing costs, and increasing customer satisfaction. With us today are Will Sellenrod, who is the insurance principal at Pyramid Solutions. Will has 15-plus years helping insurance carriers transform claims, underwriting, and policy administration processes to increase customer retention, agent loyalty, and user productivity. Thanks for joining us today, Will.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm looking forward to the presentation.
Well, so great that you could be with us. Joining Will is Vincent Price, the insurance industry software lead for North America at IBM, where he helps insurance providers utilize the correct technology to meet their business objectives. Vincent has worked in the insurance industry for over 20 years, previously holding executive positions at Willis, Kemper, and Prudential. Great to have you here with us, Vincent.
Thank you, Elliot.
So I'd just like to remind everyone that Will and Vincent will be responding directly to your questions later on in the webcast. If you have a question, please submit it by typing it into the question field and then clicking submit. We really encourage everyone to do this, and we'll answer as many of them as time permits. Now, to get us started, we're going to take a moment to poll our audience and find out a little bit more about how you all work with your agency network. Everyone should see the question now up on their screen. No, sorry. And this is my mistake. I was going to quickly review our agenda for today's call. So why don't I back up a second and do that, then we'll get to the polling question. The agenda is pretty simple. I think we've already gone through the introductions. Next, you're going to hear a little bit about some of the pressures that are facing the industry and what the industry needs to contend with right now. And in that context, we're going to present the 5 myths about claims management that I referred to earlier. And then we'll follow that with a case study, which will give you an overview of how the IBM Case Management solution works, and then we'll get to our Q&A. So again, my pardons for failing to do that the first time, and now we're going to get to our polling question. So everyone should see it in the center of their screen. Let me read the question out loud. What are your content challenges when processing a claim? And there are 4 options to choose from. Obviously, we'd like you to choose the option that most closely fits your circumstances and that of your firms. The first one is finding the content within your databases. That's your biggest challenge in terms of claims processing. The second is determining which document is the correct version. The third is knowing when the content actually arrives, when it's available. And the last option is having the ability to efficiently process the content. So again, what are your content challenges when processing a claim? 1, finding the content within your database. 2, determining which document is the correct version that you should be working from. 3 is knowing when that content is actually available, when it arrives. And 4 is having the ability to efficiently process the content. And with that, we're going to close out the poll. And let's see if we can share with you the results. Yes, we can. Well, it's kind of a runaway in terms of responses. 2/3 of you, 66.7%, your biggest challenge is having the ability to efficiently process the content once you establish what that is. The closest runner-up was 22%, which concerned finding the content within your databases. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Will Sellenrod. And Will, I'm very curious to know what your response to our polling results is. Were those results what you expected? Are they unusual in any way? Why don't you let us know what you think there?
Well, thanks, Elliot. Yes, I talked to a lot of insurance companies across the U.S., and that is a very common topic that I hear over and over. So to have it validated here in this presentation, that's good. It means that this presentation is targeted to the right audience. So with that, let me go ahead and get started. This first slide on industry pressures, it's really no surprise that the insurance market is rapidly commoditizing. It is harder for insurance companies to maintain that differentiation or that competitive advantage that they're looking for. And the popular topic I hear the most is the rise of the empowered customer, or commonly known as the self-directed consumer, where they access your insurance portal from their mobile device and they want fast, hassle-free service with immediate confirmation of a successful outcome. And this requires an emphasis on customer service by reducing your processing time, reducing the customer touch points, increasing the data accuracy. And if you focus on these key components here, this emphasis will also reduce your operational costs, which is the second most popular topic I hear, but that wasn't one of the polling questions, but I do hear that a lot. So my presentation on the 5 myths today will hopefully provide insight into addressing these industry pressures. The myths will address managing content around your current claims system of record. It could apply to any systems of record. It could be in underwriting, policy administration, but today we're just going to focus on claims. So managing content around your claims system of record is a constant source of business pain that I see. I hear about it on a regular basis. It leads to increased processing times and increased touch points. So this presentation will demystify the myth that your claims administration system, or I'll commonly refer to it as a claims system, is automatically designed to manage content. And when I talk about content, I'm talking about email, fax, and paper, or in this case, the supporting content of a claim. So managing content is quite often overlooked, yet it is one of the biggest obstacles to really optimize your system of record. So let's move on and identify the 5 myths. So these are the 5 common myths. This quote I put at the top here, I hear so many times from claims managers where they tell me that all they were told is that they needed an industrial strength content repository with a link in their system of record, because the system of record is the center of the universe for the users, but all they need is a link in the system of record to access content. And from my perspective, where I think this quote comes from is they're told that from whomever developed or is implementing the claims system of record, my personal opinion is that content management is used as an easy target for cost saving. And another great cost saving example I heard the other day is a claims manager told me they can save even more money by storing their content in a directory or folder structure within the system of record instead of an industrial strength content repository. So in other words, don't buy an industrial strength content repository. This folder approach raises big concerns on document security, document accessibility, scalability, and a number of other issues that we're going to uncover and talk about in the 5 minutes in this presentation. Content management is not the technology to cut costs. If you want to meet the demands of the self-directed consumer and the self-directed agent, some would argue they're both equally as important, you need to pay more attention to how you currently manage content. If you follow either advice by just an industrial strength repository or directory and folders, it is the wrong advice, and it will generate a lot of your business pain and a lot of increased processing costs. These approaches actually create a very limited foundation for efficiently managing content within your system of record. As example, we see where someone wants to be able to view a folder within their system of record as opposed to just the link. Or what about active content? So actions within the system of record that are based on document arrival. Recently, I was also talking to another claims manager, and they said to me, you know, Will, we really are wondering if we need a content management system, because we're thinking maybe what we really need is a CRM system, because that is the only way they can manage all the tasks and activities around managing their claims content. So they talk about personal reminders that the content needs to arrive, or calendars to track dates and times that they have to call people to ask for those trailing documents, diaries. I mean, I've even seen post-it note reminders on someone's wall to ask again for that missing document on a specific date. So reaction to events internal and external, such as managing trailing documents, automatically triggering work or activities from trailing documents in the system of record, these are popular areas of functionality. Priority processing of designated document types, such as a first notice of loss. When that first notice of loss comes in, we want to prioritize it and designate that document as important. Or receipt of content from third-party content systems, photos, video, etc. And then there's also document search and retrieval. So dragging and drop documents into your system of record, utilizing viewing properties of documents in the repository as opposed to the system of record only viewing documents. We'll talk more about that, but basically the viewing documents, or the document viewer, gives you a lot more capability to view different file types than a system of record only viewing properties. So take a good look at these 5 myths, write them down. Let me know if you have any questions at the end of the presentation, because now we're going to have a little fun and we're going to explore each of these 5 myths in more detail. So myth number 1, content can be easily added to the claim from any source. Content arrives from email, fax, paper, mobile, multifunction devices, and the file formats we see are JPEG, TIFF, MS Office files, video. Ideally, you want to accept any one of these file types automatically in the right claim or claims in your system of record. If you can't automate when these files will always become exceptions, and they require human touch and can severely delay processing. So you want to be able to automate all these incoming file types. There's third-party cloud-based or on-premise systems where they're storing accident content such as photos, and most times I'll see a claim adjuster just keep this content in the third-party system, and they have that third-party system minimized on their desktop, which means now the claim adjuster has to jump between their minimized app and the system of record to view files or manually enter data multiple times in the system of record or minimized applications. So, I mean, I've seen as many as 10 different minimized applications. I'm sure you have stories of your own in your own companies, but you want to get that content into one central content repository. Identifying the content metadata at the beginning of the process is key to determining where the content belongs. This is another step that can be automated. The document and metadata is automatically captured. Rules are applied to the metadata to identify the correct claim or claims that document and metadata belong to, because sometimes we can see a split claim that requires both claims using the same document. So customers and agents sending content from multiple sources can get overwhelming. If claims can't process the file type or the document type, or worse, it gets lost, more delays are created. I hear a lot where the agent says they sent the document and the claims adjuster says they did not receive it. So there is finger pointing and, again, another time delay. In summary, multiple types of files or content can be automated and assigned to the right claim from any source. And there are a lot of options that you have that can be explored when you talk to your vendor or you look at your current processes within claims. The most popular that we are advocating or talking to customers about is a central location for all incoming content, such as email, fax, paper. It all goes into one central location. Metadata is captured. Rules are applied. The document is auto-signed to the right claim, and we identify any missing documents, and we also alert the claim adjuster of the content arrival. Let's go on to myth number 2. Arriving content can be immediately acted upon. I see this a lot where insurance companies struggle with outdated manual processes for processing arriving content such as email, fax, and paper, and it can't be acted on immediately. Even if they've implemented the central capture, they may not be using the automatic capture or the advanced capture, as we call it, to grab that metadata. They're just scanning at intake and then using an entirely manual process after scanning, and this happens outside the system of record, where they're manually reviewing the arriving content, they're jumping between different applications to validate that metadata, then they're manually entering the metadata into the system of record, and they're getting a second opinion in some cases, which even delays it more, because there are always exceptions that occur. But each of these labor-intensive steps will add time, and they can be error-prone and difficult to scale with the growing volume. You need real-time processing of that arriving content. It needs to be assigned to the right claim and the right claims adjuster, and that can all be automated in today's content management system. Sometimes after we look at that initial finger pointing I mentioned about earlier between the agent and the claims adjuster, a lot of times the agent did actually send the document, but it was not associated with the right claim. So sometimes that document going to the wrong claim appears as a missing document in the claim it was supposed to be in. The content management can prevent this from happening if it's implemented properly. And you don't want to really customize your system of record to provide that content management functionality, because there are so many third-party options that exist in the market today, content management options, and they should all promote configuration instead of customization, which is going to be another myth I'm talking about further, which is you want to have less dependency on your IT department. You want to be more independent within your claims department to make those changes. Another example is a simple claim such as a fender bender that can be processed quickly, but what if that claim suddenly involves a DUI or an injury? Now that simple claim can quickly become a complex claim. So large incoming documents associated with that claim may need to be split among several different workers, such as claims and legal. It's difficult to do that within your systems of record today, but it can be configured within a content management system. So claims and legal can both work together on the same claim document at the same time. Let's move on to myth number 3. All users have access to a claim and policy content at the time that they need it. Storing content in the claims system makes it difficult for non-claims users to access it. It's amazing how much we see where content is siloed in the claims system of record. You don't want to silo your content in the directory or a folder in your claims system, because what it means is that outside users of your claims system, well, they can access the claims content, but they may need a system of record license to access that content. And in most cases, your system of record license will cost more than a typical content viewing license. And then those system of record licenses will have restrictions on the file types that they can view, whereas a content viewing license will give you a lot more ability to manage all the popular file types that you're going to be receiving in the claims department. The best practice is to store all content in a central repository so it can be accessed by needed system of records. You're going to have multiple systems of records. You're going to have multiple departments. By having all that content stored once and accessed by many, there's no duplication of documents. We may be able to reference that same document for multiple different systems, but we're not duplicating that document by storing it multiple different times in different siloed departments or systems of record. And also role-based security can now be applied. When I see companies storing their documents in a directory structure within the claims system of record, it's very hard to provide role-based security and scalability. So with the content management system, it's so much easier to do that. You can get security down to the page level. You can redact words. It just gives you a much better platform to provide security. And your search is more robust because you're searching among all documents and content that could be related to that claim across the entire company, not just in the claims department. And a lot of times we see when you're working on a claim, you want to see the documents that came into underwriting. You may want to see that underwriting application, but you want access to documents in other parts of your organization, not just in the claims department. Let's move on to myth number 4. A claims management system provides a one-stop shop to all content and data. When you look across underwriting, claims, policy administration, and legal, traditionally they all have separate content and workflows. Don't silo your content in each department. I've probably said this once too many times already, but you want to store your content in a central content repository so it can be accessed by underwriting, claims, policy administration, legal, and other departments. From the customer's perspective, when they're coming into that portal and they're filing a claim, or it's the agent doing that, the response time that they expect has to be your focus. If, as example, a customer goes to your portal to file a claim from their mobile device, and at the same time they want to make a change to their policy, that change process should all be one workflow. In other words, filing the claim, making a change to the policy, that change process should be one workflow. And that's very difficult if content and workflow is siloed in each system of record. If a customer or agent has to access 2 different user interfaces, one for claims and a different for policy administration, you're adding processing time. It doesn't mean that you have to go back and re-engineer your workflows in the claims system of record in your underwriting or policy administration. That's just too big a task. But use the external workflow, use content management to create that workflow for the self-directed consumer or agent. You can create an external process where the workflow predetermines how work moves through the process. And a lot of people call that straight-through processing. So it basically grabs information from, it could be claims, policy administration, it could be multiple other systems, it could be third-party systems, but it's pulling that information And it's called straight-through processing because the workflow predetermines how the work moves through the process. There's something else now that's become even more popular, and I'm talking to a lot more insurance companies about it because it's a lot more flexible. It's more of a task-based process where when content comes to the claims adjuster and they're staring at it in their inbox, they review that content, and then he or she determines the task to process the work. So both of these are very good processes. We see both of them being deployed in claims, but we see more of an emphasis, probably 80% of the emphasis is on task-based processes. 20% are on the predetermined workflows because they're more linear and less flexible. But both options will require integration to your system of record or other systems where you want to pull data and access that data. There's one topic I just want to touch on real quick before I go to the next myth that often gets lost with the siloed content is addressing fraud, counter-fraud, content analytics. It's easier to search content when it is not siloed, and you can identify patterns such as a suspicious termination of a policy or a contract, or claims, or all documents related to a sticking or malfunctioning gas pedal on the same make and model of vehicle. These types of patterns can be easily identified using available tools, using configuration, and it's far easier to do that when your content is not siloed, but when it's all in one central location. So that's becoming another, if I had to talk about a third hot topic, fraud and counter-fraud is becoming a lot more popular. And it's amazing how difficult it is for SIU, the Special Investigations Departments, to find the content and be able to look for the patterns and identify the fraud rings. So let's move on to the fifth. Did I miss a myth here? I guess maybe not. So the fifth myth here is businesses able to take control of their processes and content within a claims management system. I don't have to tell anybody, but that is definitely a huge myth. I hear all the time where the claims department see a process that's ripe for improvement, especially around content, yet they're stalled because it's not a priority for IT. If you need to make that change in your system of record, it's traditionally something that only IT will touch, and you're heavily dependent on IT to make that change. And we all know that claims systems, making changes to them are costly. They're high risk. With some external systems, I know I've been told that it's always $1 million every time they want to make a change to their claims system of record. Whereas in a content management system, you should be able to make all these changes we're talking about that are related to managing content through configuration. There are so many more changes, enhancements a business analyst can make with minimum involvement of IT. A great example of changes using configuration is if there's a particular disaster in a particular area like the Southeast, you can create a user interface within the content management system that's specific to that area or that region, and that could be for agents to log into through your portal, consumers or customers, but basically they can go right to that link, go right to that area. You have a UI that's configured directly in the content management system, but that's the primary UI that connects through integration to your system of record that allows processing specific to that disaster. Making that change within a system of record would be exceptionally difficult and take a lot of time, which you really don't have when you need to get people over to the disaster as quickly as possible. So there's so much more functionality that content management can provide to enhance your system of record. I'm going to go into more examples in the case study. So I guess I'll wait until then. And I'm going to hand it over to Elliot now because I think, Elliot, do we have another poll?
We do, Will. Thank you. So yes, we're going to pause for a moment to ask our audience another question. Once again, everyone should see it in the center of their screen. Let me read it. Which myth does your organization fall victim to? Obviously, you could fall victim to all of them, but we're talking about the one that is most interfering with your organization's operations of the ones that Will just reviewed. So, which myth does your organization fall victim to? The first is content can be easily added to the claim from any source. The second is incoming content can be immediately acted on. The third is all users have access to a claim and policy content anytime they need it. The fourth is a claims management system provides a one-stop shop to all content and data. And the fifth and final choice is the claims department is enabled to take control of their processes and content within a claims management system. So again, very quickly, which myth does your organization fall victim to? One, that content can be easily added to from any source. Two, that incoming content can be immediately acted on. Three, that all users have access to a claim and policy content anytime they need it. Four, a claims management system provides a one-stop shop for all content and data. And five, the claims department is enabled to take control of their processes and content from within a claims management system. And with that, we'll close out the poll and see how our audience responded. Well, it's a lot more even this time around, but still we have a dominant answer, and that is over a third of you at almost 36% say that the thing that most hurts you or the myth that you're most vulnerable to is a claims management system provides a one-stop shop to all content and data. I guess, well, there were the two other answers, kind of a split second here at a little over 21% each. Content can be easily added to the claim from any source, and the claims department is enabled to take control of their processes and content within a claims management system. So those are interesting results, and I'm going to hand things back to Will now. And Will, maybe you'd like to comment on our audience response to the poll here.
Thank you, Elliot. Yeah, that's again very consistent with what I'm hearing out in the field. And this whole presentation really was developed based on the feedback that I had received from customers. So it's good to see that things are consistent and everything didn't change 100% overnight. So that's great. What I'd like to do is summarize and go to a real case study. And this is a Fortune 500 P&C insurance company. A lot of our customers are P&C. We do life as well. But I'm going to go into this one because it kind of summarizes everything we talked about. And this existing company had an enterprise platform. It wouldn't scale. They wanted to maintain their J.D. Powers lead in terms of processing claims. The claims adjusters did a lot of jumping between different applications, reassigning work for workload. All these challenges like that were very manual. And from a product perspective, they chose DataCap, which Vincent's going to talk a little bit more about after my presentation, as well as Case Manager. And then from Pyramid's perspective, we've actually developed some enhancements we call Expediter for Claims. And if you're using FileNet out there, it works very well with the FileNet product, but it allows a lot more automation and productivity savings around working with content. And I'm going to cover that in a lot more detail here in this case study. But in this situation, the system of record is Guidewire, which is the most popular product that I've heard over and over within the P&C industry. But again, the users are still using the Guidewire UI. We're not changing their UI, but we're providing folder-based view of all content within Guidewire. And they have guidewire actions based on doc arrival. And we did have to migrate a lot of their legacy ECM documents from the old platform into the new Case Manager platform that has the P8 repository. And the processing productivity savings is 30% or more. I think we're going to even improve on that as we continue to work with them and find areas for improvement. But the key here is, as I said before in the beginning, where a lot of these claim system of record companies say just get an industrial strength repository, provide a link within the system of record to access the image. In this case with Guidewire, what we gave this customer is the ability to have folder-based view of content. That's number one. And, if you want to write that down, it's folder-based view of content. Number two, we gave them active content, so actions based on document arrival. Events are exchanged with the Guidewire product, so that system of record now actually creates actions based on that document arrival, and that's automated. That's not manually entered. That's all automated. And reaction to events, internal and external, with trailing documents is number three. Number four, we provide priority processing of designated document types. So if that document type is a first notice of loss and they want to prioritize the processing of that, we developed a solution within their capture that allows them to do that. Receipt of content from third-party content systems, we're actually giving them a receipt that that content did arrive from third-party content systems. So through integration, we're eliminating the claim adjuster having to jump in and out of all these different systems, which is redundant. They could be entering the same data multiple different times. We've eliminated that entirely. And the big one is document search and retrieval now. They've got a far more robust document search and retrieval. That's number 6. And number 7 is drag and drop data into Guidewire viewing properties. Actually, viewing properties of the documents. They're drag and dropping data into Guidewire, but they're using the viewing properties of the document as opposed to the Guidewire only viewing properties. Some of the pyramid expediter for claims that we developed is doc tagging. So we have a tagging solution, and that allows the claim adjusters to identify an administrator, or the business can identify an administrator, and they manage the list of all the approved tags that can be applied to documents. And these are basically graphical icons that get identified. They get put on the document, so at a quick glance, you can look at the tag and identify what kind of document it is and what kind of collaboration, or if it's priority processing. So we provide that functionality. That's one of them. The other one is the context-based search. And traditional searching involves searching for documents or folders based on the metadata associated with them. This means that basically users will only get the results of the items that have been explicitly indexed. And often there's a need to find documents based on the context and how they were used. So the solution we provided allows users to find documents not only based on the characteristics of documents, but how they've been used in the system. So a legal representative could find all documents that are of a correspondence document type that are associated with policy number ABC, as an example, even when the policy number was not applied or indexed on the document. It'll also allow the user to understand the different places that documents were used, and they can gain insight into the relationships between the documents that may not have been visible searching on document properties alone. This other one that's been extremely popular is what we call document manipulation, and that's where the claims department gets content from a variety of different sources, including legal representation. And these documents that they get from legal, as an example, are often very large documents, and they may contain very different process documents or different documents within them that they have to have different processes on. And since these have been received as a single document, could be a 300-page document, it's necessary to retain a copy of that original 300-page document, which they need to do. But with our solution, we now allow the claim rep to separate that document into the individual documents that are necessary to support the processing of claim. So in the top, you'll see the 300-page document, and they can just drag the pages down to the lower section. They can create their own document. And this way, a demand note buried deep within correspondence can be separated and acted on. Other documents like estimates, letters, and bills can be split and delivered to the individuals responsible for supporting the claim rep. And it just provides a more accurate and quick resolution of the claim. You can even create a document, so if you have multiple images that are received and they're scattered throughout that 300-page document, you can just grab those specific images, combine it into a single document for review. So it's been a very big time saver, productivity saver, and it's been very popular. The last one is the document bookmarking, and that's where claims often has to go through large amounts of medical reports and history documents to assess the claim. And these documents contain hundreds of pages that are reviewed by multiple people in the process. And this leads to the repeated review of multiple pages that are not relevant to the decisions made. And what we did for that is we allow a claim adjuster to mark key pages in a document with a description and a link directly to that reference page. So after the initial document review is completed, the underwriter will be able to open the document and quickly see exactly where they need to focus within the document and why. So that dramatically increases the efficiency and eliminates unnecessary reviews. So hope I didn't go over. I think we're at 2:45, and we still don't have time for questions. So Vincent, I apologize for taking some of your airtime, but I guess at this point, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Will. This is Vincent Price from IBM, and I would like to say, just to remind everybody, Pyramid Solutions is one of IBM's top business partners, and as you could tell from the topics that Will has discussed, they have successfully deployed and built solutions for insurance companies here throughout North America, built on IBM software, enterprise content management software, and specifically Claims Manager. So with the remaining amount of time, I'd like to spend the next 5 to 10 minutes to give you a high-level overview of IBM technologies, in particular enterprise content management software solutions that could be leveraged and deployed to solve many of the issues that we face in our claims business today. And I know that many of you attending from the audience today are probably IBM customers, and yes, we have thousands of insurance companies and financial institutions globally that use our software specifically to manage their claim processes and other insurance-related processes. So let's, as you listen to Will and the next few minutes with what I have to share with you, keep thinking about claims, whether they are simple claims such as auto claims with no bodily injury or property damage, which may have minimal amounts of unstructured information or content, or on the far end of the spectrum, maybe complex lost time workers' compensation losses, products liability cases, where we as adjusters must professionally interpret vast amounts of information, most of it coming from unstructured content or documents, from which we now have to make the right decision that ultimately impacts the company's bottom line, payments to the policyholders or claimants, and inadvertently the relationships we have with our customers, be it for retention or be it with our brokers and agents and distribution channels. But when it comes to claims, the adjusters, the examiners, and the supporting providers, whether the repair networks, medical rehab consultants, medical caseworkers, investigators, our legal defense counsel, we must consistently provide service the focus is not just on output, but on outcomes. So how do we best deliver those results based on the vast amounts of data that we receive in an unstructured format? So think about, number one, enhancing customer experience and customer retention. How we handle a claim, how effectively we handle a claim has a direct impact. Operational efficiencies, as Will touched upon. Yes, if we can streamline some of the administrative tasks, that will improve costs. But if we can enable and empower our adjusters or examiners to better interpret the vast amounts of information so they can make the right decision in a timely fashion, it can impact our bottom line costs, whether it's in loss reserves or payments. You know, think, for example, of a workers' compensation claim, a lost time claim. The amount of information that we generate, medical information, investigative information, is tremendous. And if we can provide our examiners or adjusters with the tools to bring all this information together in an actionable format, then possibly we can impact lost time duration, possibly we can impact disability payments, and potentially avoid litigation. So as you think about claims, think about the activities that our adjusters have to perform and manage today. So how do we put all this content to work? How do we do it effectively? Let's think of the kind of broad impact. Obviously, we start with the intake of the ingestion. And so IBM's core insurance solutions go from ingestion through management in support of your core systems. So on the front end, obviously, we begin with the automated document intake or capture. It's more than just converting paper to electronic format. We are taking this information and extracting information to classify it, to drop it into the right folders, for example, as Will talked about in his use case example, deliver the right information to the right person at the right time. Yes, we can store this on any repository, whether it's on premises or on cloud. But how do we make all this information much more effective for our claims adjusters? That's when we're getting into our notion here of or our solution built on Case Manager. So let's take the next step. So what really is case management? Or as Forrester describes it, dynamic case management. It essentially, and I'll let you read the slide, but essentially what we're meaning here is that bringing all this unstructured information together in a truly collaborative fashion, in a truly 360-degree view, and allowing our users or case managers or case workers, say in claims, to actively view, interpret, and take action on all of this information combined with workflows and process. So dynamic case management is the solution here that brings all of the moving parts together, if you like, to enable our adjusters to be much more effective. The IBM Case Manager, we don't have time to go into a lot of detail, but it's built upon, obviously, our leading industry enterprise content management platform solutions. This combines business rules to allow, in this case, the adjusters or the users to make effective decisions based on repeatable actions, allowing them to focus on the more professional requirement to interpret information and content as they analyze their claims. It's built upon process-centric workflow capabilities because we know in claims that, yes, if we make a payment or a transaction, that might take 1 minute or a couple of seconds. But for an adjuster to reach that decision point, he or she probably has to have interpreted, read, digested, analyzed, extracted key information from vast amounts of documents and content to reach that point in time. And that probably today takes hours. Or sometimes on complex cases, which can go on for years, that process is ever ongoing. And Case Manager obviously is built upon content-centric requirements which require ad hoc work. The 3 points to remember, combines rules, workflow, collaboration, and full document management capabilities. The IBM Case Manager brings together, unifies all of this information, a process and people in a truly collaborative fashion to provide, in this case, the adjuster or the examiner, a 360-degree view of all the case, or in this case, claim information in an actionable format so they can now achieve more optimized outcomes. Knowledge workers can extract the information from the content that's delivered, previously classified, indexed, folded, automatically attach the right parts of the claim so he or she can view it all in one environment. Combine this now with workflow and process flows so they can, if in some cases, automate some simple tasks, but more importantly, deliver the right information to the right person at the right time. And combine with rules and the knowledge workers of professional interpretation, we can make the right decision. So you think about claims, and we as an adjuster, again, we have to work through and manage and interpret vast amounts of complex, unstructured data. And this is where Case Manager can come to birth to bring, if you like, all those components or moving parts together. It provides the knowledge workers the control and insight they need to resolve the cases much more effectively in a real-time basis. Case Manager also provides the users and the managers here with some insight into the content. And I'm talking analytics and dashboards to enable them to be much more effective and much more process-orientated. No, we're not saying this replaces the core back-end systems of transactions and payments and reserves. But as claims professionals, we know that heavy lifting, the work that we do today, is centered around interpreting a lot of information to make the right decision. All this content is brought together and aggregated, whether it's from mobile platforms, the web, Microsoft Office, and so forth, and combined with dynamic workflow. So just to wrap it up very briefly, obviously we feel that our solutions here at IBM, with the power of some pyramid solutions, you can now take these frameworks and combine them into solutions for specific insurance companies and what their specific needs are, is one of our initial strengths. So at this point, in essence of time, let me turn it back over to Elliot. I know we only have a few minutes left for questions and answers. Elliot?
Thank you, Vincent. And we're going to try to squeeze in 2 or 3 questions here in the little bit of time we have remaining. So let's get to it. First question. Are you advocating a central capture for intake, or are you calling for intake by line of business? Can you clarify that?
Yes, this is Will. So what we see is intake by each line of business. We've seen that be successful, but I think the most successful option we've seen is one central capture approach. So that is the best practice just by sheer numbers of popularity.
Okay, great. This question concerns the case study, GuideWire and FileNet. Did the company replicate GuideWire's security model or integrate with GuideWire to determine the rights of a GuideWire user to see specific content? How did that work?
Yeah, that's a good question. And that is a topic that we always discuss with GuideWire customers. It really depends on your environment. Both options are available. It really depends on your business objectives. In the case study, we did replicate GuideWire's security model, and there was integration with GuideWire.
Okay, thank you. Next question. If I have a large claim document is there a way to rearrange the pages?
Yes. Well, if people remember the doc manipulation solution that we provided, that allows you to do that. So you can drag and drop the pages from the main document to create another document, and then print that or convert it to a PDF or email it, whatever you want to do.
Okay. Next question. Can I search for a claim document and determine which tasks that document is associated with?
Yes. Yes, we do allow that functionality as well, and that's from a productivity standpoint, that's a great ability to have that search and to identify those tasks with that document. So yes, you can do that.
All right. So this question, I guess, is a little bit general, but maybe it's a good one to close out on. Can you talk about which products you offer that address the 5 myths that you referenced earlier?
Well, the core product would be what Vincent talked about, and that was DataCap and Case Manager. And then the third component would be the EX or the Expediter products that Pyramid has developed that help from a content standpoint in terms of increasing productivity. And I think I covered 3 or 4. We have a number of other products as well, but I really wanted to keep this more informative around managing content on the system of record. But yeah, we do have a number of other ones. They can go to our website and get that information, or give us a call. We'd be happy to understand what their objectives are from a business perspective and talk them through those other solutions.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Unfortunately, we are out of time. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today for our webcast on improving claims management, and hope that everyone found this session valuable. Of course, I'd especially like to thank Will and Vincent for taking the time and sharing their insights with us. Also, a very special thank you to IBM for sponsoring this event. If anyone missed any part of the presentation, you'll be able to listen to a recorded version within 48 hours on the Insurance Networking News site. My name is Elliot Cass, and on behalf of Insurance Networking News and IBM, thanks for being here with us, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you.